The range of emotions in a week. I'll be real with you here on this full moon forecast that I'm doing. I'm just going to point out the time we're in. The United States, we just went through a massive election cycle that's still not done. While I'm recording this, it's a week after the election happened, regardless of who you voted for or whatever, okay? Most of you know where I stand in all this. The emotional amount of output and processing for years can catch up with people multiple times. So to start the video off, I want you to get one thing straight here with yourself, is that you'll do anything to find peace and comfort and to ground yourself. If you need to stop watching YouTube astrology videos, if you need to stop doing whatever, noticing that you're way past blown out with your adrenals, with your sleep, with your emotional self, then do what you have to find a place of safety and security so you can rejuvenate, replenish. What's this have to do with the full moon? For me, it does have to do with safety and security. The full moon that happens here Pacific time on Friday, November 15th at 1:28 p.m. Pacific, 24 degrees Scorpio is where the sun is, and that's where the moon is in Taurus. They're opposite each other, 180 degrees. That's an opposition. That's a full moon. The planet Uranus is with the moon too. So, you might be hearing about electrical, unpredictable, out of the blue energy that comes with this lunation. But I think there's some of that there, but I think that's what's more in front of people with this full moon is the sense of finding some sort of place or understanding or negotiating a place that has to do with safety and security. And the reason why I say that is because it's a Taurus full moon. Taurus is ruled by the planet Venus, and Venus right now is in the sign of Capricorn. And in Capricorn, it's about safety, security, the rules, structures, and boundaries. It's very businesslike, serious at times, right? There's no fun in all this. And Taurus full moon in Earth sign, Venus in Capricorn, Earth, looking to be rooted and grounded and structured. Now, the full moon to me goes a little bit deeper than that because Venus is making other relationships with the North and South node in astrology, which the North node's been in Aries for a year and a half, the South node in Libra. This is where the eclipses have been for the last year and a half. So this is an eclipse story still playing out here for those who have been affected by this. And Venus is in the middle of these two places of Aries and Libra, squaring both of these places and negotiating and trying to figure out the balance between Mars and Venus, basically, and the relational quality of things. But a lot of times when we deal with uncertainty, when foundations feel like they have been shaken, or they're cracked, or they're not working anymore, or what was set in stone before doesn't feel secure, then Venus in the sign of Capricorn will do anything to find that security. You add the fact that the moon deals with emotional security, right? And whatever sign that it's in this case, it's in Taurus. So you have the planet Saturn that rules Venus and Capricorn. So this is really a Saturn moon week, really. This lunation is really about focus and trying to get one's bearings. Now, if you are directly affected, your chart as you are with the full moon, this is the story, not just for this week, but I think it plays out here for the next couple weeks too. And you add that, these signatures in the full moon with what has happened in our own families, communities, publicly in the country with an election, you could see on many different levels what safety and security means and what one will do in places of complete, it seems, uncertainty, right? So you take that into your own personal world and you find your place of security and safety that is healthy, that puts you in a place so you can recoup, that establishes a playing field so you can understand the other facets and other storylines in your life. Now, if you're a Taurus and you've been through a lot the last several years with the planet Uranus in your sign, and 3 years ago with eclipses, here is a fundamental shift that happens because the moon in Taurus with the planet Uranus next to it, which is a liberating, shocking, unpredictable planet, is coming in again to uproot another story or a continuing story for you Tauruses, that you've come to the realization that as stubborn as you are, as lethargical that you can be when off balance, that the changes that you've been stubbornly moving with and dealing with, and some of you have gone with this, you're like, okay, I accept the changes the last couple of years of my life, right? In your life right now, I think it's a more fundamental thing, that it's not so much a surprise in your world, it's just another chapter in a story that's been going on for years of a fundamental change of just how you see the world as a Taurus, how you engage the world, so on and so forth. This full moon is like one of the final chapters, I will say, in the story. So there's many of you Tauruses, if you need to get a hold of me and talk to me, and I know I've talked to you, some of you already, where I've done sessions with clients last year at this time, actually, some Tauruses, and a couple times early in the year where we were talking about these unpredictable shifts coming in. Can you deal and accept what needs to move forward and the liberation that comes with it? But at first it's really hard because of being a stubborn sign. Where this full moon is actually hits upon a couple places that Uranus and Taurus was earlier in the year. So this shouldn't be a surprise. And if it is, and if there is something like that, please accept the circumstances and the playing field in front of you. I think at times with a fixed sign like Taurus, they will defend or not budge, right? And we have to understand a lot of times what could actually make you feel very happy and give you a sense of safety and security is having to let go of old habits. Or it's a situation where there's something or someone around you that is really not living up to the values that you adhere to as a Taurus or somebody with a Taurus moon or a Taurus rising. Okay, so that was my special message for my Tauruses. To sum it up, because I can keep talking the data of all this, and I got a lot of new viewers, and honestly, in some of these videos I'll do the data and I could pull the charts up. I'm not going to this time. For me, this week, I'm concentrating on what focusing is. And I think this is an important, such a simple thing as focus. Because here, there's some help in all this. But there's a tendency to have many irons in the fire these days with the kind of lives that we lead. And I think when we're dealing with earth signs, we want simplicity. And it's not saying simple duh in the brain. It's more like simplicity and practicality, right, can give a sense of clarity in the end, to finish a story in the Taurus part of your chart, right, to slowly, methodically plan or revamp the plans. And I think Venus, being the ruler of this Taurus moon in Capricorn, is really good at the plan, right, really good in wanting a step-by-step process that's workable, tangible, right? And has a set of rules and boundaries that keeps things straight and in the lane. You don't want to veer off the lane. And so here, that's the way I am going to say for many of you, if you're affected by this, to focus on it. Now, generally, whatever sign you are, whatever rising sign, everything that's happened this year and everything that's happened just in the last week is a lot, I think, for anyone to deal with, no matter how strong you are, no matter what your support system is. Energetically around us right now in the world, it is literally in flux, right? And we see it and we read about it, so on and so forth. I am always a proponent of finding the simple things in life that make you feel connected to yourself and to nature. And maybe there's something new, a new way you can do this, a new way you can negotiate that in your life, a new way to use Venus and the five senses that Venus rules, and coming through Capricorn and trying to merge relational stories. What's the relational story to yourself first? That's where we find home. That's where we find safety and security. Then we can branch out into the world or in other relational, situations. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. As an astrologer who's been on YouTube here for 3 years, it's for talking about transits every week and live streams and dramatic taglines and whatever. I think now we trust our intuition and our gut feeling. There's the inside part, and we like to see this around us reflected or manifested. And I think with a full moon in Taurus like this, and Venus and Capricorn ruling it and struggling and about control, and it's only control, wanting control to negotiate because we want to feel secure. And a lot of times that non-security, uncertainty is driven by fear. So we want to find the place that's no fear, at least temporarily. So if it's the soup on the stove here, fall in the northern hemisphere, and the leaves are really blowing off the trees now, and we see the death that fall brings coming up to winter soon. Or if you're in the southern hemisphere and you're seeing a sense of like the tropicalness of things and the weather changes, it is through the senses. It is through planet Earth, and it is through nature. It's everything outside of that. The ones and zeros and the phones and the emails and the chats and the social media platforms. They do have some sort of purpose, right? But from an earthbound perspective, with Earth and Earth signs, it's about the connection to the seasons, to what one can smell and taste and touch and hear, and the messages that come through those vessels that are inherently yours. Here, in what seems to be the most wildest and most unstable times. Last week, I've listened to a lot of people, friends and clients who have emailed me, and the tears and the anxieties, the pain and the sadness seems to have so much on the line when it comes to people's own rights to be who they are and feel threatened by external forces in the world, or they have loved ones like this. And we look spiritually in times of uncertainty, whether it's astrology or tarot or as a religion or whatever, and everyone's trying to find a rock to hold on to, right? My message, and I'm saying the rock that's out there maybe for you to hold on to, is that soup on the stove, or the smell of the wind, or the bath that you draw for yourself, or the embrace with a loved one. That's where true revolution lies always. And that's where love lies. Do I go off on a certain thing about how love wins and compassion is everything? Not this video. But some of you know how I roll. In this episode, I'm into simplicity and the place that keeps you warm and secure and grounded. And if you have to shed tears there, or have a laugh in that place too, whatever it is, do it, okay? On that note, I'll be putting up another video here for the forecast next week soon. Some of you know I've been working on some other things. If you somehow made it this far, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. I do these crazy live streams sometimes. I'm always going to speak my truth. It's always going to come up from a place of daydreams and dreams and contemplations and the things that I hear from the wind and the falling leaves. Until next time, I'll see all of you on the next video.